In 2002, the wrestling world changed forever as Ring of Honor was born. This followed the deaths of ECW and WCW at a time when the wrestling world really needed new companies to rise up. Ring of Honor not only filled that gap, but exceeded any expectations that anybody had of it. Ring of Honor changed the pro wrestling world, and in this video I am going to explain how. We're going to start off with the most basic point, and that is the talent. You look at any professional wrestling company going today, and some of their top talent came from Ring of Honor. You have stars like Kevin Owens, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Eddie Edwards. Name after name started in Ring of Honor. You have names we don't really associate with the independents who still started off in Ring of Honor, still got their startup in that company. Names like Seth Rollins. Ring of Honor really led the future of professional wrestling. If it wasn't for Ring of Honor, sure, some of these stars would have still made it, but others would have faded away. And that shows how beneficial Ring of Honor was to the wrestling world, to giving these indie stars that start and giving them the opportunity to then become major names and some of the biggest names in the professional wrestling world. It's not just names who started in Ring of Honor from the indies, because even some ex-WWE guys or other ex-major company guys really found themselves in Ring of Honor. Names like Cody Rhodes. If it wasn't for Ring of Honor, who knows if Cody Rhodes would have made it back to the WWE after he departed the company in 2016. You can say this about so many talents. Name after name after name either went to Ring of Honor when they were already an established star and really proved themselves to the wrestling world, to the fan base, that they can go and give them the opportunity, or were completely unknown before Ring of Honor, or just other independent guys who really got their shine in that company, and that led to them getting bigger and better opportunities down the line. Ring of Honor was also a big reason that the pro wrestling world shifted towards being more, well, wrestling orientated. Before Ring of Honor really blew up, the wrestling world was more about entertainment than wrestling. It was all about these big characters, and especially in America, that was really all that wrestling was about. You did not have to be a good wrestler to succeed, to be one of the biggest stars in the world. Nowadays, it's a really big requirement to be a good wrestler, to succeed at that top level, to have those great matches. Before, unless you were god awful, you could succeed no matter what, as long as you had an entertaining character, charisma, and hell, muscles and being tall certainly helps too. Now it's a bit different, and Ring of Honor was a main contributor to that. If it wasn't for Ring of Honor, names like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson would have never made it, because Ring of Honor really showed that you don't have to be 7 foot tall and jacked to be a success in the pro wrestling world. You see the lasting effects of Ring of Honor on the two major companies in America right now, WWE and AEW. When it comes to the WWE, ever since Triple H took over NXT, you can see the Ring of Honor influence on his product. NXT was a super indie, and the WWE, while not going that far, is still very much pro wrestling oriented, much more than it was under Vince McMahon. And Ring of Honor may be to thank for that, as they really laid down the groundwork when it comes to American pro wrestling, following that mantra. Ring of Honor is also one of the main reasons AEW even exists. If it wasn't for Ring of Honor, we don't know if AEW would exist, because they were a part of that long domino effect that led to the creation of the company. If it wasn't for Ring of Honor, then the Elite may not have been as much of a success as they were in real life. And while that is a what if, as we can't really go to an alternate timeline, something that's not a what if is that if it wasn't for Ring of Honor, All In would have never happened, which was a major contributing factor to the creation of All Elite Wrestling. And you can see the effect that Ring of Honor has on Tony Khan because he bought the company. Having said all that, I feel like it's undeniable that Ring of Honor changed the pro wrestling world. Whether it comes to the companies, the styles, or the talent, the wrestling world would be completely different, probably for the worse, if it wasn't for Ring of Honor's existence. Some of the best talents going today came from that company and had their best runs in that company. And I'm very glad that we live in the timeline where Ring of Honor kicked ass for over 20 years and continue to do so to this day.